Yo,
Live,
we live?
we're live and alive.
Live and alive. Live and alive. All you come in. All you come in. Live and alive. What's up, C?
I'm good, bro.
Just got in from the hearing at the trial.
Nice.
We got in here. Ravens fan, shout out to you. Oh, where's my camera? My camera's off. There we
Yeah.
go. There we go. Ravens fan, shout out to you. Mark Jag, what's up? Ilias, what's up? Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. Who else we got in here? All right. We're gonna we're gonna get into this. I don't have a lot of time. I just wanted to update you guys real quick. I took a lot of notes today, and it wasn't even my regular I had to create this book. I took a lot of notes today. Took a lot of notes today. For a 1 hour trial, or sorry, 1 hour hearing, it's a lot of notes. But I wanted to just get this out to y'all on my lunch break before I jump into my other meeting. So I got about 40 minutes. I'm gonna try to get as much of this out here as I can, so you guys know what happened in there, and then we'll move forward this evening after we get hopefully a decision on this Rule 29. Now, most of the stuff that was said today was already said in the letters. So there wasn't many new arguments, but I understand now why the judge was saying that he wanted to have a hearing. I do understand, because there was a lot of back and forth. It definitely was a lot of back and forth. So I got in slightly late, about 5 minutes behind, but I got in right in the beginning of when Alexandra Shapiro was starting. So it was really Alexandra Shapiro. She was the one speaking on behalf of the defense. Teddy Garagos was there. Brian Still was there. Agnifilo was. Everybody was. Puff's legal team was there for the most part. And then on the prosecution side, it was Slavic, who I think is now the assistant DA, assistant USA. And then the other one was, who spoke first? Foster. Foster spoke first. All right. So I'm just going to go through my notes, and then we're going to get into what this means, in my opinion, on certain things. I will stop it a little bit just to give my opinion. But basically, there were three major things that Alexandra Shapiro, and don't listen, I was listening on the way back here. I was listening to some fool, some British guy, talk so much nonsense. He don't even know what he's talking about. Anyways, there were three major arguments, and these weren't arguments that were brought up during the trial. Okay, I want to make that clear, first of all, that these arguments that they're arguing were not the arguments that they were bringing up during the trial. This British guy goes on and says how they're bringing up the same arguments in the trial. Literally, the judge, the prosecution stated that they should have brought this up during the trial, and they didn't bring it up during the trial. So they shouldn't be bringing it up now. That's what the prosecution literally said today. And the Alexandra Shapiro said we couldn't bring it up in the trial. And the reason why we couldn't bring up, for example, his amendment rights being violated, is because we needed the acquittal so that we can show that, yeah, his amendments rights were violated. We needed him to be acquitted of those other serious charges. So you couldn't have made these arguments until you realized that he was acquitted of those things, okay? That the jury rejected those things. So let me just start right here. I said, that's the first thing I wrote. I wrote, could not make First Amendment argument before the acquittal. Now, the First Amendment argument, the first part of it, is predicated around filming S acts. Okay, filming S acts. Now, here's the important thing to remember, guys.
Hold
A
on,
lot of
Jay.
this,
Hold on.
yes,
Guys, if you're just filing in, remember to hit that like button and to share this video with anybody who is, been waiting for the update on the Rule 29 hearing and stuff like that.
yeah,
Remember
share
to
this
get
video.
those likes up, guys.
Share this video. This stuff hot off the press. I had to run in the rain for this. But again, a lot of this was predicated around case law. So I'm not going to get into every single piece of case law. Neither did they. They brought up a lot of the case law based on what they had submitted to the judge before this hearing today. Based on their case law, they said filming SEX acts are protected by the First Amendment right. How? Why? Why would that be the case? Why would that be the case? Because that is expression, and you have freedom of expression that is protected under First Amendment right. It's not just freedom of speaking and freedom of speech. filming a S act is freedom of expression. So what they're saying is, if you're going to charge this man for transporting for the sake of prostitution, then that means, or for the intent, that means that you're also saying he didn't film it and he didn't participate in it, which is what she's going to get into. She goes, there was also no financial motive, and there was no bilateral exchange of money for S. Okay, there was also no financial motive, and there was no bilateral exchange of money for S. And those two need to be present based on the case law. Those two need to be present for the Mann Act. Now, financial motive would be that Puff has some financial gain from this. Okay, the only one that the judge had brought up is one in which there wasn't a financial motive, but the guy didn't end up getting paid for it. Like he got paid for booking the flight, but it wasn't in court. There wasn't actual financial motive. It just that he ended up getting paid for it. Then it says judge says willfully causing theory because Cassie and Jane paid escorts. So this is when the judge stopped Alexandra Shapiro. He stopped her a number of times, and you're going to hear other commentators that were there saying, oh, that judge interrupted her. He did it to both of them, number one. He did it to both of them. But this is why this is an advantage for him to stop her and mention this. Okay? The judge said, how is this not a willfully causing theory, even though there was no motive and he wasn't having financial gain, and even though there was no bilateral exchange of money for S between Puff and the prostitutes, how is he not thereby causing prostitution because it's his money and he's booking the flight? So even though he's not partaking in it, that Cassie and Jane are partaking in it and they're the ones paying, even though he's not, he's kind of facilitating it. So the judge is asking, that helps the defense, because now it opens the door for the defense. Oh, you want me to go and show you why that is not the case, right? So he didn't shut her argument down the way you'll hear fools talk. He literally gave her an opportunity to tell me why this is not still willfully causing the act, okay? Basically secondary instead of primary. It's secondary, right? So she says no, because he never touched any of the escorts. They all said it. He never touched the escorts. And then she goes, and then she calls this whole thing commercial voyeurism. She said, he never touched the escorts. He was watching. The women never said they were in prostitution. And this is basically commercial voyeurism. It's like, I'm paying to watch. I'm not paying to partake. I'm paying to watch. And then she says, and mens rea, remember that's your intent. You're willing, with knowledge, and you're willingly breaking the law, willfully breaking the law. Okay, you're willfully breaking the law and you have knowledge. You know this is wrong. She said mens rea shows he was not under the impression that he was engaging in prostitution, because I wouldn't be either. How am I engaging in prostitution if I'm not even engaging in the act itself? So it goes back to what she said was this case law was Smooth versus State, says commercial voyeurism could have been going on in a private residence, and that is not prostitution. So in that particular case, they talked about that. That this person didn't get actually charged for prostitution or commercial prostitution ring, because they didn't know who was actually partaking in it and who was just watching. So the people who were just watching, how are they going to get charged? If that's the case, then you could make the point that Jane, when she went to that hotel room, when she went to Vegas for the couple's party, and people say that couple was Cartier and his now wife Bianca, and everybody was standing around watching an S act, right? Remember that? So that would be commercial voyeurism. So does everybody in that room get charged? So what they're saying is there was no prostitution going on. So these are 2 points that they've made so far. Pay attention. 2 points that they've made so far, okay? One is that his First Amendment right gives him the right to film. Remember, these were filmed. First, it gave him the right to film it Therefore, you're violating his right to be an amateur director, let's say. And then the next thing that they said was also this wasn't even prostitution. This is just voyeurism. He's just watching. Then and then she goes, and he had no financial motive. That's how she started. Okay. Then Foster stood up. Foster says, well, the defendant transported Cassie and Jane with the intent that they engage in prostitution. So she's firing back. And I'm telling you, there were good arguments on both sides here. There were good arguments on both sides. She said that the defense, the defendant literally transported them so they can do it. But remember what Alexander Shapiro's argument is in mens rea. How are you supposed to willingly say that he full on knew that would be him engaging in prostitution? So there's good arguments on both sides. And then she also says that Cassie or Jane turned over the cash in exchange for S, and Puff transported them. So he is secondary. That is secondary liability. So he didn't do it. He didn't engage in it. But Cassie and Jane, they engaged in it, and they traded the money for S, which is bilateral exchange, right? And he didn't gain any financial motive, but he transported them so they can do it. So he caused it. He caused it, which is still, if you're causing it, you're willfully causing it, right? That's what they call willfully causing theory. That's what they would call being secondarily liable. So that's what Foster is saying. He's still liable because he's willfully causing or aiding and abetting. So she says he's willfully causing or aiding and abetting. Okay. Then Slavic stands up and she says, Judge, it's all about the act of transporting. But remember, Alexander Shapiro was saying you're transporting, but there was no prostitution. And she's saying it was transporting, and that's what he's being charged for, transporting. And she goes, then the judge brings up, this is when the judge interrupts Slavic. You see, I'm telling you, the judge interrupted both of them. If you watch other fools, they just make it like the judges beat up Alexander Shapiro or something like that. He interrupted both of them. The judge interrupts Slavic and says, let's say you're a adult film director and you transport one actor to a place and another actor to a place, okay? You pay for their flights and you're the film director. You transfer both actors to that place to clearly engage in S for money because they're going to get paid. The judge said that to Slavic. The judge said that to Slavic. So all these people who are telling you that the judge interrupted, they were killing, I said, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. You know they're liars already. The judge said that to Slavic. Slavic says, again, this great argument on both sides. Slavic says, it's not the same, Judge, because the director is telling the actor before they come that they will be filming a movie. So the judge is telling the actor before they come that they will be filming a movie. Now, I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of my commentary. I wrote right here, as you can see, you guys can read that yourself. I wrote, that's BS. That's what I said. I said, this is BS because they filmed them all the time. When I say they filmed them all the time, I'm talking about Puff and Jane Doe. They filmed them on a regular basis. So it would be obvious. Jane Doe's own testimony, which we'll get into again, because Alexander Shapiro then said exactly what I wrote down over here. She says it in a couple pages from now. Jane Doe says they were mostly almost always filmed. So if they're mostly almost always filmed, it's safe to say that Jane Doe is assuming that it's going to be filmed when she gets there, so she doesn't have to be told that she's filming a scene when she gets there. So that's why I said that's BS. And again, filming this is protected under the First Amendment right. And you see where I said, see what I wrote here? Guys, you see that? Right there. It says, judge seems to be challenging both sides. You see that, guys? Right there. Judge seems to be challenging both sides. Okay? Judge seems to be challenging both sides. Not one side. I'm telling you, it was a back and forth. And then I also wrote that not all those things and the way not right. Excuse me. Not all those things are way sex. Okay, this is what I wrote. I said, okay, there we go. Got it. All right. So then Slavic also says that the judge asked Slavic, and what is the important and substantial government interest in this charge? And Slavic says, there is an important and substantial government interest in this charge because regulating prostitution helps prevent violence against women, sexual assault, illegal rug use, and all of those things were present in this case. Again, she made a really good point. She said, this is a very important issue for the government to regulate because it leads to violence against women, drug use, illegal rug use, and assault and violence against whatever. So, my camera mess up? Y'all can see me?
Nah, it's blurry.
I'm gonna have to use my other camera. This is why we had to start late because cameras weren't working. Now
it's back now.
Yeah, this is a different camera because the other camera keeps messing up. All right. I wrote not all those things were present, so relax. There was no assault because he was found not guilty. So that didn't happen. And on top of that, the violence was never about the freak off, obviously, or else that would have been the coercion, right? So the violence was not part of it. The violence was totally separate. The rug use was also personal rug use that was happening with or without the freak offs. So that's not present either in this case. So that was all BS. I call cap on that. All right. And then I said, and then if that's the problem, and you're so have to regulate all this stuff, then why don't you go and regulate those volunteer S parties that people have all over the world, whether rich or poor? You got a lot of people having volunteer S parties. So why don't you go regulate those? Because all those things are present in those, right? So Shapiro responds, says it was routinely filmed. And Jane testified that they were filmed almost every time. Remember, I just wrote that. I just wrote it here. And Shapiro said exactly what was on my mind. So if they're routinely filmed, then it's safe to say that you're getting filmed when you go for the FO. And when you go for the FO and you're getting filmed, that is art or expression of art or creative expression, as they say, right? And they're all voluntarily doing it. So it's all creative expression. It is being filmed. Jane knows she's being filmed. Cassie knows she's being filmed. So what is the difference between an amateur adult film director and what he's doing? Shapiro also says evidence shows there was mood lighting. Here's the one. This is really, really important. Evidence shows there was mood lighting, acting, role playing, dancing, and they were highly, highly choreographed. Remember that word, choreographed. They were highly choreographed, they say. Okay? Remember that word, because Slavic and her foolish self backed herself into a corner later on. She goes, and remember, these were all him filming, and you put your leg over there. Okay, we gotta get the mood right. You're gonna dress up like this. There's costumes, everything. There's costumes, everything, right? Shapiro goes, that is amateur adult film. And you know what she says? Whether you are live or you watch it later, it's still amateur adult film directing. There's costumes, there's lighting, there's setup there, setup here, there's role playing, so that's acting, right? That's acting. So this is all amateur film stuff. The judge then says, the government claims that this S for hire was for hire and not for this was S for hire and not performance for hire. So the judge interrupts Shapiro and says, but the government is saying this is S for hire, not performance for hire. Because remember, the adult film industry, the way they get around transporting people is, well, this is performance for hire. This is not S for hire. Shapiro says, and this is when I said mic drop. I swear to you guys, this is when I said mic drop. Okay. Shapiro says, Judge, OnlyFans came up during the trial. If you guys remember, OnlyFans came up during the trial because Jane Doe, she said that she wanted to go and do OnlyFans, and she ended up going and doing that. Shapiro goes, and from what I understand about OnlyFans, it's not recorded. A lot of this is a live stream. It's happening in real time. This is live streamed, and the person is getting paid. A lot of this is live streamed. It's happening in real time, and the person is getting paid to do the S act. So what she's saying is, it doesn't matter if it's recorded or not. It doesn't matter if it's recorded or not, because of the fact that even if it wasn't, I'm still, as she says right here, he still has the right to watch corn. And that's not just pre-recorded corn, it's also live performances and live corn. You see, for us, compared to Puff, we're poor. For us poor people over here, right? For us poor people over here, here's the thing. We don't organize a whole live scene like Cirque du Soleil. Okay? We don't organize lights and the oil and the bathtub of oil and the photos and the costumes and the actors and I'm gonna fly you over here and we're flying you Turks. Okay, we're gonna do it all over here. And action. And I just watch over here. We don't do that. Most people who are watchers of this, shout out Podcast with Soul. Shout out Podcast with Soul. Appreciate it. The super chat. Most people, sidebar, most people who partake in viewing corn are viewing a recorded version because they can't afford to put on a whole production just for their own live viewing. But what she's saying is, it doesn't matter if it was filmed or not, Judge. He has the right to have freedom of expression, even if it's just for him alone in the audience. He has the right to do that, Judge. It's his life, Judge. This is why I was like, yeah. So then she goes, you'd have a point if these were not so highly choreographed. And that's what I said. The defense, the prosecution, they kept beating up this choreographed. It was choreographed. It was a big scene. It was red lights and costumes and wigs and blah, blah, blah. Well, they backed themselves into a corner with that one because, like Shapiro is saying, you'd have a point if this was just SEX. But this was not just SEX. This was a show. This was a whole show, the whole production. And he has the right to freedom of expression. And that does not stop at SEX. Freedom of expression includes SEX. So if he wants to do that, he can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, guys, remember to get those likes up if you're just filing in. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, remember to hit that subscribe button. Let's get those likes up, guys.
Let's get the likes up, y'all. Appreciate it. And go and share this with somebody. So then she goes, DOJ doesn't prosecute this unless it's a commercial S ring. They never prosecute this. It's even in their policy that they only prosecute this unless it's if it's a commercial S ring or if it's obviously minors. That's when they prosecute this charge. They don't prosecute this charge in their policy. And then she goes, in regards to Slavic, I think it was Slavic or the next one. I forgot what her name is. She said, in regards to that argument, she goes, this isn't I wrote whorehouse. I don't know if I could even say that on YouTube, but I did say I wrote it just so you guys, she goes, basically she's saying this is not in a private massage parlor in the back, whatever. She goes, this is in the privacy of a hotel room or in the privacy of their personal residence. Therefore, there is no threat to crime in the neighborhood or breach of peace. So remember, before, the prosecutors were saying, no, this is our business, and we have to make sure that this is special, very important and substantial, because this can lead to other things like, violence against women and illegal rugs and all these things. And this is very important that we really, really, really crack down on this and regulate this. And Alexandra Shapiro's like, what the hell are you talking about? This is something in the privacy of their own home or own hotel room. It's not like they're in the back of a massage parlor or a brothel. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? This is going to increase crime. All right. So then she rests. She sits down. Oh, no. She says one more thing. My bad. She goes, and DOJ policy says that this statute, the Mann Act statute, is used exclusively for commercial or minor. She just repeated herself. Then the judge asks Slavic. He goes to Slavic, do you have any cases? Do you have any cases that you can show me in which there is transportation, there is exchange and payment, and that the person who did the transporting benefited from it financially, yet did not touch or engage physically in the act? Is there something you could show me? And she goes, yeah, I just don't have it on. I don't have it on my fingertips. She goes, I don't have it on my fingertips. But yeah, yeah. And then he goes, okay. So you have, and he repeats it, and she goes, maybe I don't understand what you're asking me. So then he breaks it down. He goes, do you have any cases where person A transports person B to have S with person C, while person A has no financial gain and also does not physically participate in the S Act? Slavic says, yes, but don't have it with me. I'll bring it during sentencing next Friday. I wrote, what lies? Why would you not have it with you? Why would you have it, but you don't have it with you? Like, aren't these supposed to be the best of the best? Why would you have it, but not have it with you if it exists? That's lies. That is lies. So basically what you're saying is I was unprepared. Even though they've been sending letters to the judge back and forth for the last month about this Rule 29. And you don't have it with you? She's referring every other case law. She's referring this one, that one, this one. And she goes, yeah, I have it, but I just don't have it with me. I'm going to bring it on Friday. Lady, if you lose this hearing, you ain't going to make it to Friday. Friday doesn't exist. Puff, going home today. Why would you save that for Friday? What are you talking about? Anyways. So she goes saying the government don't have, this is my own personal notes. I said, saying the government don't have no special interest and they're just talking ish. I said, Shapiro is right, but there was illegal rug use during it, but it was personal illegal rug use. And I also wrote, neither women even said they were being transported or paying for prostitution. They felt like they were paying for escorts. They did not think that they were participating in prostitution. The escort didn't think that they were participating in prostitution. And Puff didn't think there was any prostitution going on. The last thing on his mind is that he was participating in it, considering the fact that he wasn't effing anybody. Well, the person that was being paid. So here are the closing notes, closing arguments. All right. It's the last page, and then I got to run y'all. And then we're going to roast some people later on. The judge goes, this was really, really important. The judge goes to Shapiro. Let's say there's a businessman and he has a client. And this businessman brings his client to a brothel. Okay. And the businessman pays for the client to have S with somebody at the brothel. So he transported the client to the brothel. Would have to be over state line. So let's just say from New York to New Jersey. He went from New Jersey, he drove to New York, and he drove the client to New York, went to a brothel, and he paid for the client to have S at the brothel. He goes, is that transporting for prostitution? Asked Shapiro straight up. Shapiro first said, well, I don't know. It depends. She goes, was it being filmed? Was it this or that? And he goes, no. He is that, and he repeated it, and he said, is that to you? I'm trying to understand if you're saying that's prostitution or it's not prostitution. And she straight up said, no, that is not transporting for prostitution. He is not engaging. He is not even like part of it. He did drive there and he did thing. Now, I thought it was a bad example that the judge gave because that businessman would be profiting off of that example because it's his client and his client is paying him. So I thought it was a bad example because the businessman would have financial gain in that case because the client is paying him. So I did think that was a bad example, but I guess that's the closest example that could be given for this, right? So Shapiro's answer, as you see here, Shapiro's answer is no. No. Then Shapiro says the entire history of the statute of the Mann Act statute is an embarrassment to the United States of America. This is in her closing statements. The entire history of the statute of the Mann Act is an embarrassment to the United States of America. She says these charges wouldn't have even been brought on if it not for the other charges, the more serious charges, but the jury rejected those charges. And so now all we're left with is consenting adults having a threesome. That should not be criminal in 2025, whether anybody's paid or not. That's what she said. I'm going to read it one more time. The entire history of the statute is an embarrassment to the United States of America. These charges wouldn't have even been brought on if not for the other more serious charges, but the jury rejected those charges. Therefore, all we are left with is consenting adults having a threesome. That should not be criminal in 2025, whether people are paid or not. Then the judge says, and then Slavic says, this is when Slavic's reading. She read the closing arguments too. Then she starts reading, and she starts reading a pre-written statement that says, this is all to satisfy the defendant and no one else. And he planned them and he blah, blah, blah. And they never wanted to do it. It was against their will. All this, the jury already rejected. So I don't even know why she's repeating this stuff. If anybody was repeating stuff that was in the trial, it was actually these guys. It was actually the prosecution. And they're repeating stuff that the jury already rejected. So I don't even know why you're saying it. She said, it was against their will, blah, blah. But you know what she said? Because it was pre-written and she wasn't smart enough to skip over that part, she said it for the third time now. She said, he planned them and he choreographed them. My lady, don't you understand? That's Alexandra Shapiro's, that's her point. Her point is that they were choreographed. Since they were so highly choreographed and heavily choreographed, it's protected on the First Amendment right because it is expression. And he has the right to express himself. If he wants to choreograph a live show, he can choreograph a live show. If he wants to pay some actors to come over here and role play, he can pay people to come over and role play. One of the examples of role play was, my husband's out of town and I'm cheating on him. So Puff was the husband that was out of town, and Cassie was the one in there pretending that her husband's out of town and she's cheating on him with this guy, and he's sitting there and watching. So what is wrong with this lady? Why would you? I get it. It's a pre-written statement, but skip that word over. My lady, what are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why she said that, but she read it. She read it out loud. She said, and they were highly choreographed. He planned them and they were highly choreographed, he said. And then the judge says, she also said, and these women were getting abused behind closed doors. And I wrote, none of that has anything to do with the SEX. Then the judge says, very good arguments on both sides, which I agree. He goes, very good arguments on both sides. Is there anything else from you, Ms. Shapiro? Alexandra Shapiro stands up and says, no, judge. And he says, okay, thank you. This hearing is adjourned, and says, I will have an answer for you soon or shortly, either soon or shortly. So we should be knowing We should be knowing what's going on later today. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I just took my lunch to do this real quick to just kind of update you guys. I will be back on live this evening for a little bit, but I just want you guys to be updated on what's going on at the trial. And I can't let you guys go and watch other videos or mainstream media because they are going to lie to you. So I just felt my duty to let you guys know what really happened in that hearing today. All right, y'all. I thank you guys for joining. See, play the outro just in case some people want to finish up some of their chats. I appreciate everybody being on here. Go and share this video and join us later. All right, peace.
Your rags in the air like a chopper. Hennessy punching Johnny Walker. Somebody tell the police they just can't stop us. Like a helicopter, spin out your rags in the air like a chopper. Hennessy punching Johnny Walker. Somebody tell the police they just can't stop us. Oh, when me choppers them. 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 Rags to me, flags to me, rags to me, flags to me, rags to me, flags to me. Yo, spin your rags in the air like a chopper. Wave your rags like a helicopter. Spin out your rags in the air like a chopper. Round and round like a helicopter. Spin your rags in the air like a chopper. Wave your rags like a helicopter. Spin your rags in the air like a chopper. Hi, choppers fly, helicopters. We drunk cause we drink like a fish in the water. So high is like the world spinning faster. Dripping with sweat but it don't really matter. The music making me ball out. We see ladies and we call out. Them girls and them whining all out. Look a fight in the back, them brawl out. What? Me no business about that. Girls on me mind, so me thinking about that. Woman in the place, so me hunting for that. Bumpers in me face, so me on the attack. Just give me Henny, yo, give me Stack. No racial thing, white oak, Johnny Black. Oh gosh, I could catch a jet lag. 1919 does have me feeling high. Like a helicopter, spin out your rags in the air like a chopper. Hennessy